Hey, welcome everybody to episode 3 of our Disreputable podcast. My name is Brandon, and I'm here with a guest today, Tim Marlowe.
Well, thank you. I'm doing awesome, man. Thank you for having me today.
Absolutely. We actually do this Disreputable podcast in Tim's studio. He's been super grateful to us, and it's been a great partnership. Tim, tell everybody what you do and the idea behind BD Local, and then why podcast.
Yeah. So what we do here, we market and advertise for dozens and almost hundreds of local businesses here in Tacoma. We do marketing for local nonprofits. Musicians are coming to us to help with promotions, and even people that have upcoming events all are coming to us to help just bring the community together. And what we've done is created this whole system for to be on the home screen of your phone. And
Nice.
So if you think of all these billion-dollar corporations, Amazon, Uber, Lyft, why they are so prominent in our world or influential, is because they're all on the home screen of our phone. So I gave that same technology to the local community.
Yeah.
And then, so we've been doing that for the last couple years, about a year and a half. And the most latest thing was when we took that leap of faith and started in radio. And I had no idea what I was doing with radio. They said that I had a face for it, not the voice for it.
Stop.
And I know it's a pun that has very
awesome.
often said in this room.
Yeah.
Now that we have video podcasting,
Right.
but it was going out on a limb and starting this whole radio thing. I didn't know really what I was doing. People were having fun with it, and then our doorway closed.
Okay.
KLAY was bought out. We created a foundation here in Tacoma, and just a new home for anybody that was already in radio.
Right.
And we turned it into podcasting. I believe that we can reach more people, and the content can be understood more through podcasting. And this is something that I had just thought of yesterday or this morning as I'm having some solitude time here and there. And it's when you listen to music, a lot of times when you listen to music, it's background music.
Right.
Or like radio or even TV nowadays.
Sure.
But podcasting is purposeful. And so when you actually go to listen to a podcast, you go to listen to the podcast.
Right.
You're trying to get that golden nugget out of it.
Something you want.
Something you want.
Yeah.
And that's why what we've created here is so precious, so valuable to the people that are involved.
Yeah. Well, thanks for letting us use your studio and for this partnership. It's so good. Where can they, if they want to find you, how do they find BD Local?
Yeah. So BD Local is a locals app, so you can download it to your iPhone under BD Local. If you have an Android, we have a limited edition, but it's under Backseat Driver, and that's what BD stands for, is Backseat Driver.
Nice.
Or Big Deals, whatever's happening.
Absolutely.
Then follow us on social media, Facebook, like us, follow us. We do weekly podcasts like this, and if social media is working with us, then you get to see us live.
Yeah.
And so it looks like we're live now, so I'm excited about it.
Yeah, great, bro. When I first came to you with this idea of doing a podcast with you, and I think you said to me, like, what would the name of your podcast be? And I was like, Disreputable.
Yeah, you said it with such confidence.
And you were like, when I say the word disreputable, where does that resonate with you? Where does it sit? Do you resonate with it, or is it like, I don't even understand it? Or
honestly, I'm going to be vulnerable here. I had no idea what it meant.
Okay.
When it came to mind, disreputable, it kind of gave an unfiltered look. So if we live in this filtered world of everything just being so nice and candy, and it kind of gave me, I'm like, okay, well, that's not like butterflies and sunshine. Like, what does this actually mean?
Yeah.
And then after tuning into the first couple episodes, I was like, disreputable, without reputation. This is what Dean and you were talking about.
Right.
And it opened my eyes to something where it's like a clean slate. It's like, imagine a world that you can help influence if you weren't influenced by all the negativity in your life.
Right.
And that's what I see with Disreputable, is where you can, I'm from the South, so get back to the get back to the roots
Right.
of the cause.
Are you from the South?
Yeah.
What part?
South Carolina.
Come on.
Yeah.
Tennessee native here, man.
All right.
So
Yeah.
we brought the South to the Pacific
Bringing it
Northwest.
in. Bringing it in.
When I think of the word disreputable,
Yeah.
I know it has many different definitions, and as if you look up, some are, some are positive, some are negative. When I think of, the word, I actually have disreputable tattooed on my
Nice.
chest. Yeah. When we were talking about this idea, I thought this is what I've been searching for. Not outside of Jesus, but
Sure.
an explanation. This is kind of what I've been searching for almost my whole life, to try to put this into words, because I feel like I've made decision after decision after decision that were in the perception of somebody else that either agreed or disagreed.
Yeah.
So when I think of the word disreputable, I think of my reputation is in the perception of somebody else that gets to have an opinion.
Right.
And they can vocalize that opinion on a plethora of platforms.
Sure.
But they don't ever seem to vocalize it to you. Have you ever found yourself like in a spot where you made a decision or something happened, the perception of somebody else was out there, and you had to go for it no matter what people thought, no matter what people said, no matter what people posted, because you knew in your heart it was the thing to do?
Yeah.
Have you ever found yourself in that spot before?
Man, you're talking about half my why right there.
Okay. Right.
Yeah, there's been a lot of trials in the last 10 years, and where I had to, and one of the things that I think of is not just how other people are perceiving me or how they were perceiving me. It was how I was perceiving me from their thoughts.
Yeah, good.
And it was totally taking my own self-image on a personal level, and I was accepting it. And that's where I had to grow personally. I had to grow with Jesus, and I had to overcome many battles, from separations when I was in the military to
Thank you for serving, bro.
you're welcome, man. Being in a situation where I wasn't able to see my daughter for a while,
Right.
because her mom and I separated, and I was living on the East Coast and she was on the West Coast. And when you only have one side of the story being told, then you believe the one side of the story because that's all you have. And
Right.
so I was doing everything I could to be on my best behavior, 3,000 miles away from my daughter, but still have the rights as if I was within 5 miles of her. And so why I say that is because, if I say something on social media, those things can be taken to court. Those things, like,
Sure.
you're judged for all the things, even if you don't think so or not. Once you put it out on the internet,
Right.
or speak life into it, it becomes part of your life. And I had to change. I had to do something different, and I had to believe I could be in a position where I can influence more people.
Yeah.
Like, how can I take care of someone else if I haven't taken care of myself first?
Yeah. You said there you had to believe.
Yeah.
You had to believe, not necessarily in somebody else, but you had to begin to believe in you. What did that look like? What did belief in yourself look like? How was it waking up every morning and saying confident things in the mirror? Was it a workout regimen? Was it devotion? Was it solitude? You said just a few moments ago. What were the things that kind of helped you to start to believe in you again?
There's, I think, all walks of life, when you look at, we all have one lifetime, but when we talk about past experiences, we talk about, oh, that was a lifetime ago.
Sure.
And so these lifetimes that we have within a lifetime, I think there's many different ways that you grow in yourself. So when I was separated, living in Georgia, I had to believe in me to a point where I was by myself. I was going to school. I wanted to see my daughter, but she wasn't there.
Right.
But I knew that if I didn't make straight A's in school, I was the president of student council at my college. I was peer selected to do all these different things that only one person could do during the program. I was president of the surgical program. So I had to believe in myself to get through that portion of my life. And it was just knowing that, it's a one day at a time kind of deal.
Yeah.
And that time was physical fitness. That kept me I was doing some fitness modeling at the time, so I was, unfortunately, even though I didn't have my daughter with me, I was very selfish during that time, because I had to learn who I was or
Yeah.
who I didn't want to be.
Right.
And especially going through that separation time and divorce, it just wasn't. I had to figure out who I was outside the military, outside of being a dad, outside of being a husband, and really and grow into who I am now. Looking now, the last 5 years,
Right.
it started going from when I was in surgery. Now self worth.
Okay.
I know that I'm good at things, and that's what I learned a handful of years ago. But it was really my self worth in the last 5 years, knowing that I was worth it. I was put here for a reason, and you can either go through the motions, like Matthew West says in his song,
Sure.
or you can believe that you're here. I think it's somewhere in, if I can, talking about John, scripture in John, how if you believe in Christ, I'm going to my Father, and talking about Jesus, talking about he's going to his Father, but those who believe in me will do even greater things than I am,
Yeah.
or that I have done. And so, through personal development, getting involved with the church,
Mm-hmm.
creating relationships, that was that I that that's the biggest thing in the last 5 years, was creating relationships with everybody.
Right.
And it's through that path that has really gave me clarity. It gave me certainty.
Yeah.
Reading books like Kingdom Man
Yeah.
totally opened my eyes to, as a man here on earth, I have a realm that I've been blessed with, and that's our families, and that's these, like, our businesses, and we need to protect our businesses. We have to
Yeah.
protect our families. We have to protect our spouses.
Right.
And he's given us authority over all of that.
Yeah.
And now I wake up and I thank him for blessing me with another day. I guess I did good enough yesterday. He's like, here, have another one.
Yeah.
And this is how I look at every day now, with a blessing.
Yeah, I know that there's so many things that we're kind of unpacking here and unlocking in. I know there's people that might not necessarily follow Jesus that listen to this podcast,
Mhm.
but what I kind of hear out of Tim is that at one point there was almost like you trying your best to do it by yourself and on you, and then somehow you found a higher being, a higher power, and in this case it was Jesus that kind of
Mhm.
helped you, get on that path.
Yeah.
There's a couple things that when I was thinking about as you were talking, when it comes to I don't know if you've ever been asked when you were a kid, what are you gonna do when you get older? You ever been asked that question?
I'm sure I
Well,
was.
I can remember being like kindergarten, and we would have police officers or
Mhm.
firemen or doctors or construction workers come, and they would be showing their job descriptions and all the cool tools that they have and stuff. And I can remember them asking, like, what do you want to do?
Right.
And you just kind of, like, when you're young, you're like, yeah, I think I want to be a police officer.
Right.
wanna,
I only know 5 things. So,
Yeah.
and I see the 5 things in front of me.
so I'll take it.
Yeah.
You. But I started to think over time, like, I think we're asking the wrong question, and I think we've been systemized to ask the wrong question. So systemized,
Sure.
like we've been taught in a system that it's what do you want to do,
Mhm.
as opposed to who do you want to be.
Right.
Like, who do you want to be because if you what do you want to do is like destination. It's like when I'm
It's employment.
45, or it's employment. It's a place. It's a
Yeah.
position. But becoming, like actually being something, is daily.
Mhm.
And there are people that are listening to this podcast, and in 3 weeks, in 21 days, they could literally be somebody different
Mhm.
if they would just take the understanding that you can be somebody else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't always have to. And I was listening
Mhm.
to a talk the other day, and the guy on there said, "Fake it till you become it."
Hmm.
And I thought, now I've always heard the phrase "fake it till you
To
make
make
it,"
it. Mhm.
but make it lines up with what do you want to
Do. Yeah.
Right?
That destination.
But fake it till you become it. And then I started thinking about the word fake. It's like, well, who? And I remember when I first had my daughter. She's 6 now, and those of you that know a little bit of my story, And those of you that don't, my parents were divorced when I was younger, and I have two great fathers. One was a provider, one was a player. When I say player, like played sports with me, not like player on the other side of player.
Right.
But, and so I've always tried to figure out ways to look at life in the best way. But I can remember when I found out we were going to have Truly, man, I freaked out. I didn't know how to be a dad. I didn't know the steps to being a dad, and I didn't read any books to being a dad. Like, I didn't know it, right? And I can remember just doing what I felt like I was supposed to do. Like, just hold her, love her, kiss her, take care of her, be kind to her, like, just nurture her, like all these things that were just kind of in you. You didn't read them from anywhere. It was
Sure.
it just came out. And I can remember one day, I'm totally faking it, bro. Like, I was wearing the dad clothes. I had the dad bod at the time. You know what I'm saying? Like, all the dad stuff. And I can remember holding my little girl during a meeting that we were having, and somebody came up to me and said, "I want you to know you are an exceptional dad." And it was in that moment that I became what I was trying to be. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
When somebody sees that in you, all of a sudden, everything you've been faking, air quotes, for those of you that aren't live, everything that I'd been faking of trying to become, all of a sudden it became that because somebody else saw that in me.
Yeah.
Did you ever have somebody that saw something in you that maybe you didn't even see in yourself?
Oh, yeah. There's examples with that almost with all the relationships that I have with people. My wife Sadie, obviously, she's in my life every day, and she's amazing, and she always gives me affirmations and just encouraging me, and always just saying that you're just an exceptional dad. You're doing all the things that Marley is going to remember when she gets older.
Right. How old's Marley?
She's about to turn 10 in May.
Come on, bro.
Yeah.
Nice.
And so during, our dark time, I
Right.
didn't have anybody like that. So I was faking it until I became it. Right. I just knew that, we have dads. So you have some sort of male figure that you're trying to mimic, but at the same time, just like anything, like friends or jobs, you take the best out of every little relationship or experience, and then
Right.
you try to make the best version.
Right.
And I think that's the journey that you're talking about until you become it. And then
Right.
you're like, well, now someone said that I was a good person now, or I'm a good dad.
Right.
Now what have I done? And then you just keep repeating it.
Right.
And try to be a better person each and every day. And then you get those humbling
Right.
comments from sometimes strangers to even the most important women that are in our lives.
Yeah. I meet with people all the time, bro. And what I've noticed that there's one common thing that everyone has, and when they're going through trouble, and it's the belief in yourself. And I think, the reason why I love this Disreputable podcast in so many different ways is because everybody at some point, their reputation is tainted by somebody else. No matter what they think, and whether they would like to describe that as disreputable or not, that's completely up to them. But there's another label that they're giving it. And because of the perception and the belief then on what other people are saying, they start to doubt. They start to doubt themselves. And I can remember going through a season of my life where, I was doing all the right things that the world kind of said, and I was reaching these air quote goals again, like all the things and then I can remember looking at myself in the mirror, just saying, like, who are you? Like, what is this? Because if, what they call successful, looking at this man in the mirror doesn't look like success. And I can just remember, like, starting to repeat the things that I just remember telling myself, like, you're strong, you're courageous, you're brave, you're loyal. I mean, I can remember brushing my teeth in the morning, and just reminding myself of who I knew I could be, And I think there's so many people out there that they're like, how do I become? How do I grow and not be so worried about the perceptions and the reputation of those around me? And I would say, and you speak into this, but I would say then you need to look at yourself in the mirror, and you need to remind yourself of who you were before you started listening to everybody else.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I would add into Surround yourself with people that are speaking life, and if they're not speaking life, then find a new group of people, and it and try something different.
Right.
If you were, considered a crap bag in this group of people because you treated everybody wrong,
Right.
then I'm not saying forget them, but try something different.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
be nice to somebody. Say
Yeah.
thank you. Open the door. Let people in traffic when there's traffic, and just see how big of a change you can be in this world when yes, these group of people, this one person is tainted your reputation, but that's only one person. Go meet 100 new people
Right.
and prove that person wrong
Yeah.
because that was the past.
Yeah. Do you feel like you walk around? Do you are you energized by proving people wrong?
I am energized by proving myself wrong
Okay. Explain.
because it's that self doubt.
Right.
It's the
So when you don't want to, you do it anyway
yeah.
because you know that that's gonna like a little bit of you is gonna die, and the new you's kind of gonna come out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of, I mean, if you look at it at a business standpoint, there's always another level of grind.
Right.
Like if you're working out, there's always another level of grind. You could have woke up 30 minutes earlier or, biked to the gym and then worked out versus
Right.
driving to the gym and then biking there for 30 minutes, then doing your workout, right?
Right.
That was a vicious cycle I had. I'm like, why don't I just bike?
Right.
And then it was a totally different level.
Yeah.
But it's the person that I always have to prove wrong is the self-doubt in my own mind.
Yeah. I can remember seeing these little memes, I guess, in they're of like animals that are looking at themselves in the mirror, and then almost like people. But there's that one that comes to my mind when you were talking, and it's the cat who looks in the mirror and sees the lion
Yeah.
versus the lion who looks in the mirror and sees the cat.
Yeah.
And I've been in both.
Mm-hmm.
I've been the lion in some stretch of the imagination,
Mm-hmm.
but everybody else around you was applauding you, and that was great and
Mhm.
so good. And then you looked in the mirror, and all you saw was a puny little.
Yeah, because you're like, why me? Why?
Creature.
How am I in this type of position where people are, praising me or looking to me for, information or guidance? And it's like sometimes it is overwhelming. Sometimes you have to face that little kitty in order for you to get that lion back in that picture.
Absolutely. And I want to be the guy that kind of sees himself as the lion.
Yeah.
And always growing and always developing and that's why we started this podcast,
Mhm.
man. And that's over time we're gonna have different guests like
Mhm.
we had for you today, and just kind of talking through real life scenarios, real
Yeah.
situations where we're pretty authentic, pretty genuine,
Mhm.
and trying to help people. To your point, because people go to podcasts not for background music.
Right.
They're going to podcasts to learn something and grow and develop. So based upon what we talked about today, man, what would you say to our listeners as we close that may be going through some self-doubt, that maybe in a funk, that may find themselves not where they want to be, and they're just stuck in the moment, in the mundane? What would you say to them today in closing of the podcast?
Man, that's so many things, ramble off right now. But what I would suggest to people is whatever that positive person is in your life. If it's a mom, if it's Gary Vee, if it's a pastor, if it's someone who just speaks life, try to mimic them. Don't try to mimic the Snapchat type of filter.
Yeah.
The filter that is mainstream. If you want to be authentic, then you have to take away the filter. But if you don't know how to even find yourself, you have to have some sort of mentor to guide you in the right direction until you see that line in the mirror.
Right.
And so if you're in the beginning stages of just self-image issues, just be around positive people, speak life into yourself, listen to podcasts that are speaking life into you, read books that are positive, personal development. If they're Christian books, great, like Kingdom Man, The Go-Giver, all these different types of books will give you a perception where it's not a chip on your shoulder, it's the foundation that you're standing on, and that's Jesus, and at least in my mind.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, big thank you to BD Local for letting us use
For
the
sure,
studio.
man.
And thank you for listening to episode 3 of our Disreputable podcast with Tim Marlowe. So thank you all for listening. Signing out on behalf of myself and Dean Curry. We will see you next time on Disreputable Podcast.
See you guys.